All right, after a rock and roll ending to last week, trading resumed today at TMX exchanges, following, of course, that unexpected shutdown on Friday. Trading at the stock exchanges in Toronto and Montreal was suddenly halted more than an hour early on Friday afternoon. And for hours, there were few answers about what specifically had happened and why. On Saturday, a statement from TMX Group said the issue was due to a hardware failure. Today, it's business as usual, but the incident does raise questions about technological challenges facing the stock exchange. Joining us now is Lou Eccleston, CEO at TMX Group. I believe we have him on the line here. Lou, if you can hear me, what changes have you put into place today that weren't in place on Friday that would now prevent something like this from happening again?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, this was just to set the stage, really an unprecedented event. The failure of the device was something that's been running in our system for over a year. It's a state-of-the-art piece of equipment and an architecture that's run all over the world by banks, other markets, large technology companies. So we have both a primary system and a disaster recovery, and in the primary, we have a failover. The problem was that the way the device failed, it was in such a way that it didn't allow the failover device in the primary to take effect. So immediately we began to troubleshoot that. We let our clients know. It was very important to have an orderly close to the market and a robust beginning today, which we managed to do in both cases. But we immediately replaced that appliance and have been monitoring it. The engineers for the manufacturer are there, and they're now working on, they've identified the problem specifically. So in addition to new equipment, more monitoring, we're actually going to have a software fix that'll come in with the manufacturer, in the imminent future. But in the meantime, lots more monitoring and watching the device very closely. And it's something that has never seen, the manufacturer's never seen it, and we never saw it with something like this in over a year.
Right, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're in the business of making sure that we have redundancies for our redundancies. And if I follow what you said there, you have replaced the faulty piece of hardware with another single piece of hardware. Do you have now an existing redundancy that if it happens to have a first time ever failure again, that you have something else that kicks in to be a redundancy plan?
Yeah, we'll actually replace the piece instantly, but we did have redundancies. So it wasn't able to come to life, that redundant part, but it was there. So it wasn't a single point. It was actually really an anomaly in how this works. Nobody's ever seen this happen before, where a failed piece of equipment prevented the failover from happening. That's now been addressed, so that's not going to happen again because we're ready for that if that happens again. And in the long term, there'll be a permanent fix, as I said, within the next week. But in the meantime, we're sitting there with the parts if needed. We don't expect it to happen again. Again, it hasn't happened ever, and with this piece of equipment, it's been over a year running in our environment. But yes, we are ready for it, if it does happen again.
And if I understand it right, it's an industry standard piece of equipment. Like, it's not like Correct. You guys are the outlier on this. I wonder, though, what do you say to people who watched what happened on Friday and now have trust concerns about the operation and about the ongoing, the ability of the operation to keep on going in the point of a crisis?
Well, keep in mind, this is the first incident in 10 years, for starters. So it doesn't eliminate what happened on Friday, granted, but it is the first incident in 10 years. And hopefully what we showed was how we reacted quickly, communicated with the markets, and there still was an orderly close to the market. We did make the decision not to try to reopen the market with disaster recovery. Remember, we did have systems that could have brought everything back. The challenge, though, was how late it was in the day, and we wanted to make sure of two things. There was absolutely no cyber activity, and there was no data integrity breach. And we did not want to come back until we had absolutely verified that, and by then it would have been too late. It would have been after the close. So we went ahead with an orderly close and said the last board lot trades will be the end of the market, and we'll be ready for business as normal on Monday morning, and both of those things did occur.
I do wonder about, and listen, I'm in the news media, my job is to get answers as quickly as I can get them. There was a lag between this happening, then we didn't have a ton of answers, as I'm sure you guys were just scrambling about to try to make sure that you had the right systems in place and what you were going to do about this. Yeah. But it wasn't until Saturday that we really found out what had happened. Why did it take so long to convey that to the public, especially on something where trust is the core? Sorry to interrupt.
But remember, we were talking to our clients immediately. So you had to do the analysis, you had to do the work, you had to get the manufacturer involved to make sure exactly what the cause was, which we did right away. That initiated immediately, but we were constantly talking to our clients from the very moment, within 15 seconds of the incident. So while yes, we wanted to be sure before we went out on a broader perspective, but our clients were getting communications from us immediately and through the whole weekend.
Well, listen, it is certainly good of you to come on the show today and to speak to us about this and about what happened. And I'm assuming now that you're up and running, you can probably get a chance to catch your breath and maybe even get some sleep. So, Lou, thanks for this.
Okay, thanks. I hope so.
Lou Eccleston, CEO at the TMX Group.
Thank you.